So thank you all very much for being here and contributing your time. So first, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Dr. Elena Kennedy, Associate Professor of Entrepreneurship at Elon, where she teaches a range of courses, including entrepreneurship, ideation, finance, execution, strategy. She has a PhD in organizations and social change from UMass Boston College of Management. Her research examines strategic decision making in purpose driven organizations, entrepreneurship education, and entrepreneurial ecosystems. She joined Elon in 2016 and has supported a range of businesses and nonprofits in Alamance and Guilford counties through her research and through her applied course called Entrepreneurship for the Greater Good. So, Elena Kennedy, thank you.
I get to go first. I will play my academic hat, set the stage a little bit in some pieces, and then get into some resources that we offer at Elon. So I'm going to share with you a couple ideas that exist out in the literature that we see in practice in spaces like this, and then moving into some of the organizations that people in our county have found helpful to them briefly, and many of them have representatives up here, which is exciting for you all to hear from, and then ways specifically that Elon supports entrepreneurs and may be able to support you or someone else you know, so kind of spreading the word. So talking about economic vitality and the work that the Downtown Corporation does, there's this concept called civic wealth creation. And so for a long time, when we thought about policy, when we thought about success, when we thought of all these metrics, we just thought about economic wealth. Like, how much money is this going to create? How many jobs is this going to create? But in reality, it takes more than money and it takes more than business to make a community the way that we want it. And so there's been this broadening of idea of civic wealth that happens when entrepreneurs work with the community and work with regimes of support, which includes government organizations, support nonprofits, and philanthropic donors and universities. And so that's kind of the space that Elon fills in, as many of these organizations do, in creating some support to create communities that we want to live in, creating communal wealth, creating spaces where we want to spend time, where we can connect with other people, the infrastructure for gathering, and then social wealth and helping create bonds across people, as well as the fact that we can all thrive economically. And so getting entrepreneurs in a space with the support of some of these organizations can be really valuable. And so I'm excited to be part of that today. And as you guys, as you're thinking about your small businesses, be thinking about how can you enrich them by working in collaboration with your community to have a better sense of, are you providing things that people want? Are there ways that you can build something that's uniquely here that wouldn't work in another community? Because that's how you'll get kind of stickiness, as well as working with some of those regimes of support. Are you taking advantage of people who know how the system works, who have gone through the zoning process before, who have done marketing before? Often when we're a small business, you're doing something once, right? As you're starting up, then maybe you might start up 3, maybe 5 businesses. We call you a serial entrepreneur at that point. But there are people in the community who have helped hundreds of entrepreneurs go through it. And so they, even though they haven't gone through it themselves, they have support and experience and can connect you in. And so be thinking about ways to do that. Another thing that can be helpful to think about is entrepreneurship in an ecosystem. Right? You don't operate alone, and there are things that need to exist in our community in order for entrepreneurship to really thrive and create these spaces. And the formal institutions, the government agencies, the structures and the zoning and the permitting is an important part of that. The culture, are we in a space that supports and celebrates our successes, our individualized successes? Do we have rich networks, or can we tap into other people's networks? Those are kind of a foundational piece that needs to be there. And then on top of that, is there demand for your services? Are there enough people around, or ways to connect those people in? How do we build that as a community, or how do we, and like, we don't have to do it alone. Is there talent there? Do you have people who you can hire either in service provision, like an accountant, a marketer, things like that, or full-time in creating your goods? Does that exist in your community? What does the leadership pipeline look like in the area? The access to capital, the physical infrastructure. Is there even a storefront if you want a brick and mortar space available now at the price point you're at? What support organizations exist, the intermediaries, and then what kind of knowledge and training is available to you. And so part of my research has been looking at that here in Alamance County, both from the side of the support organizations and the side from the entrepreneurs. And so far, the data is showing that there's room for growth in a lot of areas, but there are also some bright spots, and sometimes that's viewed a bit differently from the way that government officials and like the support organizations view and the entrepreneurs. So the entrepreneur view is the circle on the left, the support organizations kind of aggregated together on the right. We all seem to agree that demand is a growing area in this area. As more people come in, there's more demand for all of our small businesses and products and services. Talent is improving, or entrepreneurs see talent sometimes as stronger than some of these support organizations see talent. But and entrepreneurs seem to think the formal institutions are okay. People who work in the formal institutions tend to be a little bit more critical of these spaces, which is interesting. But entrepreneurs don't feel very supported. Like the culture they see as a weakness. They don't see the celebration going on. And some of that we can work on changing and having media groups and spaces, and some of that can help, but some of that also we can help each other in those areas. And then finance is an area where there actually are more financial resources available, according to the government officials and the nonprofit organizations and the support organizations, than entrepreneurs are seeing. And so some of that is you don't know what you don't know, right? And so we need to find ways to share that information. And everyone on this panel is big part of our charge today is to share that information with you, that these things exist. So in the community, when I asked people about where they were going for support, overwhelmingly, like the chamber was the number one highlighted spot. Alamance Community College came up quite a bit, the small business center there. Elon, less so, but also relatively central. But the school district kind of came up. The library has actually great resources here in Mebane. There is a business librarian whose whole job is to support you as small business, can help you with research, can help you identify different pieces. So some folks have found support there. The different business associations, each town kind of has their own development corporation or small business association. That's how we got you in the room today. As well as some, there are some banking opportunities in here, some local agencies and some other spaces that you can turn to. So I just want to kind of highlight in the ecosystem, there are a lot of people who are willing and able to help. And it's just kind of, again, going back to that idea of networks, like how do you know who's doing what, is an area that we can all grow. So now I'm going to tell you about Elon specifically. I teach in our major there. We have a major and minor in entrepreneurship, which means we have 165 majors, 90 minors. We also teach a master's level course, and so I teach across that curriculum to folks who either know what they want to start already at 18 to 22 or just know that they want to be there at some point. And so we kind of think of it as entrepreneurship and innovation in that space. And then I also serve as the faculty fellow for community-based learning, which means I connect faculty members and support faculty members who are interested in using the community as a laboratory for their classrooms in a lot of ways. So we have 23 courses running this semester that each have students who are required to do a minimum of 40 hours of work on a community-based project. A lot of those projects are with nonprofits, but they also can be with for-profit small businesses in the area. And so there's a lot of support opportunity if you have a project and you don't have enough hands in your business. We have classes sometimes that have skill in that. So we've got my Entrepreneurship for the Greater Good class has supported over 36 businesses in the past 8 years in different ways, businesses and nonprofits. This year specifically, we're working with the United Way Just one. Last year, we worked with 6 different agencies working around housing. But we have a digital marketing class that is always looking for people who want to refresh kind of their digital footprint and put students on that project. We have got marketing research courses. We have courses in education working on training materials. We've got courses in environmental studies thinking about environmental impacts. And if you're thinking about building sites, we've got a whole bunch of different opportunities, and we're like, my job is to grow those on campus. And so that is one area where you can get free support for your business and kind of in a talent side of the pipeline. It's valuable to you. It's also valuable to the students to learn how to work with people. So there is some growth that goes on for them, but to how to apply what they're learning in whatever major they're in to real world clients. And so it's seen as a mutual benefit. And the person who's probably the best to contact for that is Sarah Beth Hardy. She is the full-time staff person who manages our community partnerships. So that's one option, is what we call community-based learning courses. We also have students who are on federal work study, and depending on what your organization does, we can potentially place a federal work study student with a community organization, and you can get reimbursed for part, if not all, of their salary expenses. So that's another way to add more people if manpower is a need for you, and finances are tight, as they are in many businesses, right? Uh, and then we have an internship program, Campus Alamance internship program. If you're located in Alamance County, we try to have at least 50 placements a year where the university pays their salary for an 8-week internship. And again, that can be nonprofits and for-profit organizations. This is the time of year that we're recruiting businesses for it. So Sarah Beth, her email's right there, can get you in touch with the right people for that. They're looking for kind of a discrete project that you could say the student will have ownership of this, in June. So sometimes that can be a challenge because our worlds are dynamic, but also just trying to match student skill with what you need. And you get to pick for that program. You get to pick who's working on your team. So it's not like we're just like, here's this person who we can't figure out where they belong, but you manage the interview process in those pieces. And we have a networking event October 23rd on campus. I'm happy to share more information about that if that feels relevant to you, just to connect community members with faculty and staff on campus who are interested in kind of lowering the walls around campus. Our Student Professional Development Center also is continually recruiting employers, both for jobs and internships, who might be interested in getting in front of early career folks. So we've got a job board, an internal job board that our 6,000 current undergraduates, as well as our 20,000 alumni, have access to. That you can post on, and as you're looking for employment or for employees, as well as opportunities to come on campus and spread the word about what it is you do and what you might be looking for. And then we have a student-run communications agency. So if you're someone who's looking for some marketing support and doesn't have the budget for a full-time person or even a expensive part-time long-term contract, Live Oak Communications takes on typically 8 clients for a 12-week period, is kind of their goal roster. There is a fee associated with it, but it's compared to the market, it's very competitive, or if not much subsidized. And they can do website design and video production, media relations, social media revamps, brand identity work. They've had a lot of success with that, and so that can be a great spot to turn to. And so those are kind of the talent side if you're looking to bring more voices into your firm. The other side that I want to highlight is we have trainings and speakers that are outreaching as well. And so our Center for Design Thinking being a framework of kind of helping you think outside of the box with kind of a human-centered focus on it. So making sure you're focusing on the right problem for your organization and testing multiple opportunities before you invest heavily in one path or another. They offer planning and ideation workshops for businesses, and so that center can custom build something for you. That's facilitated by our center director, and the student consultants who she works with, and so can get you out of your space into a more creative space to have a team meeting and think about what's next, what should we be doing next, or how do we solve this, or some of those, and kind of teach you that method. And they just kind of do pop-up consultations whenever anyone needs them, if they've got capacity at that point. Our university speaker series, we're bringing in, expert leaders that are open to the public. There are ticket sales available for some events, and some are free events as well, but recommend you just kind of check that list out. Comes out every September of what's coming up across the year. Less relevant to small business, but just might be interesting to you. One of our big speakers this October is Katie Ledecky, the Olympic medalist, talking about just kind of winning mindset and her journey. We've had the CEO of Habitat for Humanity come out. We've had John Rapogel, CEO of Seventh Generation, talk about his piece. We'll have an event October 30th talking about responsible business leadership with some name brand, household brand kind of CEOs who are going to be part of that conversation. We haven't officially launched the event, so that's all I can say on that, but how they think about responsible leadership. And then we have launched in the past 2 years a program called Elon Next, which is a series of continuing education courses that are open to anyone who is interested in broadening their experience. A lot of them are 6-week sessions in the evenings, or they're online and self-paced. And so the categories that the Elon Next courses work in is data and digital tools, a lot of data visualization, using different programs, software programs in that kind of space, business knowledge and management certificates. In some cases, they're taught by Elon faculty. In some cases, they are certificates from outside providers, as like we've got one in a management training program that's kind of self-paced. Personal development, and just things that you might be interested in, specific leadership pieces, cybersecurity. We've increased our pieces in because we've been hearing from folks that a lot of business owners needed more training to think about how to keep their data secure as the world is moving rapidly. And then what we call Life at Elon, which is just kind of things that you might enjoy, like a 6-week painting class or an art history class, or some pieces in there. So that's all open to anyone in the community. Our offerings tend to be, as an institution, we tend to be more student focused than the other folks you'll hear from. So I tried to highlight some things that fell beyond that. And that is all I have. I will say, I showed you some data, which possibly changed your responses, but I'm always trying to gather more data to make a more compelling case to our policymakers, as well as help other people learn from our experiences. So there's a QR code here. I don't want you to fill it out while our next person is talking. So I also put some flyers in the back with that QR code as well as my email, and I've got cards and some flyers with some other resources are on the back table as well. All right, thank you.